Ever since I showed an interest in personal finance, I started to invest in the stock market. And I did that actually in the UK, and I'm also doing this here in Sweden. So it's something I haven't really talked about here on my YouTube channel, but I thought it is about time. It's part of my Swedish life, investing in the stock market. And in today's video, I want to introduce you into investing in Sweden. I actually use two companies, two platforms. One is called Avanza and the other one is called Nordnet. In today's video, I want to compare these two platforms to give you a little bit of an overview what's possible here in Sweden, and then you can decide for yourself which platform is best for you. This video is not sponsored by them. I actually just discovered them and then I tried them out, and that's why I'm here today to tell you all about them. And if you don't invest in the stock market yet, then maybe this video inspires you a little bit to start. Of course, I don't want to convince you investing in the stock market, but it is something really good for your future, so why not? And do let me know in the comments down below if you invest in Sweden. And if you use either Avanza or Nordnet or something else. And at the end of this video, I will show you briefly what funds I'm investing in. I'm actually not investing in stocks, I only invest in funds. And at the end of this video, you get an overview to get some inspiration if you want it. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel and grab your little ebook to find out if Sweden is the right fit for you. You find the link in the description down below. Let's get started. So I have my laptop here to sometimes look some things up. I wanted to first start with when I actually started investing. So I started with Avanza and I came here in June 2021 and I started investing in November, December 2021. So half an hour later after I arrived in Sweden. And for Nordnet, I actually started it much later, only this year in January 2024. And then before I go into details about the platforms, my investments grew by 26.10% since I started investing with Avanza, which I think is pretty good. And with Nordnet, it's similar. My investments grew by 23.52% since I started in January 2024. As mentioned before, I will let you know what funds I'm investing at the end of this video, so stay tuned. And just to give you a little bit of an overview, I started investing in the UK back actually just before or just when the pandemic started in March 2020. And I used a platform called Fidelity, which unfortunately doesn't exist here in Sweden. And my investments with my UK account grew by 38.82% since I started investing in the stock market. And actually, I read a lot of books about, personal finance, saving money, but also investing money. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos about personal finance, and that's how I started. And so I was actually prepared when the pandemic hit. I knew that was a really good time to start investing. Okay, enough with the background. Let's compare Avanza with Nordnet to see if one platform is better than the other. The first thing I want to mention is the language. So Avanza is only in Swedish, so I guess it's most suitable for Swedish speakers. Nordnet is also in Swedish, but on the app you can actually switch to English. And I think that makes a lot of a difference if you are a foreigner and you don't speak Swedish yet. Nevertheless, Avanza is still my bigger account because I started Nordnet later. So for me it wasn't a big problem because you can actually Google Translate it on the website. Not in the app though, so in the app I can't really switch to English language, and I know a little bit of Swedish as well to read what's going on. And to be honest, the language is not a big deal for me because I just researched my funds I wanted to invest in, and now I am not spending a lot of time in either of the platforms. I every now and then spend a certain amount each month to invest, but I have my funds. I'm not looking for any, other funds right now. So I don't really need to know the language to, I'm not keeping myself updated, if that makes sense, because I'm not really trading, I'm investing. But I have to say that obviously I like that Nordnet is in English, the app is in English. If I do want to look something up or understand something quickly, Nordnet gets the plus. And then in terms of like the interface, the design, and how easy it is to use. So Avanza, you can both access it through the web, but also they have an app, and both look really, really nice, to be honest. I really like the design, and it's really, really easy to navigate through the platform or through the app. And then Nordnet, to be honest, the design looks a bit different, but it is equally as smooth to navigate. There's a lot of information if you really want information on both platforms, and you can reach that very quickly. Again, maybe if you don't speak Swedish, then Nordnet is a little bit better. Although I haven't really seen that on the web you can switch to English, but then again, you have Google Translate and it really translates everything for you. So I know we should learn Swedish, but if you haven't learned Swedish yet, so then you can always have Google Translate, for example. So in terms of design and user friendliness, they're both equally good. And now about investment options. So I found it actually a little bit easier to find what I was looking for on Nordnet than on Avanza. So Avanza, I think, is more domestic. They have more opportunities to invest locally, like Swedish funds and stocks, whilst Nordnet has a more international portfolio. I think you still can find what you're looking for on both platforms. If you're anything like me, I'm not looking for a huge variety of funds or even stocks. So that's why Avanza was absolutely fine for me. But Nordnet just had a little bit more international funds, and I personally was more looking for international funds, and you will see a little bit more in my portfolio later in this video. Then a little bit about the fees and cost in general. I think here they're also quite similar. They are quite cheap. Like, you barely pay any cost for just having an account with either of the platforms. And then it just depends on like what your fund or your stock is about, because then you actually have to pay like a fee. And you will see what I mean if you don't know anything about funds. You can see then what the difference is between those funds and how much fee you actually pay. It's normally a percentage. So personally, I haven't seen much difference between these platforms, but then again, it depends on your funds. And then there's two things: research and educational resources, as well as customer service. I have to say, both of them, I didn't really need it. Like, I don't read much. When I did my research, I read everything I wanted about those funds, but now I'm not keeping myself updated. I don't want to talk about why, and here, everyone has like a different approach, but I don't really need it. I have made my decision. Of course, I observe a little bit how they are performing, but that's about it. But I think both of them have good resources if you really want to look into more detail. And then again, Nordnet has more English resources and Avanza is purely in Swedish. Customer service wise, I actually have not messaged the customer service, so I don't know which one is better, but I read a little bit online and both seem to have good customer service. If I have to use it, I will update you and leave a comment down below. But otherwise, I would say they're equally good. So which one should you use? Honestly, I think they're both really, really good platforms. The fees are quite good. The only big difference, I would say, is the English version of the mobile app, which makes it so much easier for you to navigate if you don't speak Swedish. But otherwise, there are both really, really good platforms. So you can look into it yourself and see if you find any personal preferences. But in my opinion, I would recommend both of them. And as you know, I invest in both of them. At the moment, I invest more into Nordnet just because I want to have them equally up to the amount I have on Avanza, because I invested there earlier. And now we jump quickly to my computer and I will show you my investments. I will not leave too many comments about it because it's a very individual choice, but you get an overview of what the funds are and then you can make your own decision. Let's go to my computer. So here is my first fund called Avanza Global. This is obviously on Avanza. And you can basically see here is the fee, the total of gift, and it's very low. It's 0.09%. And you can see also global means, these are the different countries, obviously the US with 70%. is the biggest percentage. And then here you can see what kind of areas invested in. And you have a bit of more, information if you want to look it up, basically. Then here we have Avanza Zero, and this doesn't actually have any fees. This is a local fund, so it heavily invests into Swedish, like the fund is made of mainly Swedish companies. And here you can see what kind of areas is invested in. I have to say I'm not investing that much anymore in Swedish companies. Let's have a look. This is another one, Avanza Sverige, and you pay 0.18%. You can see it's quite similar to the one Avanza Zero one. But yeah, I find that the others perform much better. I invest a little bit in Swedish companies, but mainly in the other two, which is Avanza USA and the Avanza Global one. And here you see you pay 0.19%. And you can see here again, it's really heavily US, like almost 100%, whilst the global is 70% USA. Let's hop over to Nordnet. And here you can see this is one of my Nordnet funds, Fidelity Global Focus AACC USD. So it looks a little bit different, but it kind of has the same information. Here is basically the companies and their percentage in the fund. I think you have to click around probably a little bit to see the percentage of the company. But here, down here, you will find the Avgift, the fee 1.91, and that's definitely a little higher than Avanza. And that also is because you can see this is like a Fidelity fund. It comes from Fidelity, and I mentioned that. I invested on Fidelity. It's a platform in the UK, and they have their own funds as well. And then the next one is Nordnet USA Index. And here you can see, again, the fee is a bit lower now, 0.20%. And yeah, it's a USA one, so you can see all the companies in here. Then we have a UBS Lux, USA Growth. One PACC, I mean, it has different meanings, but this is something you can definitely look up yourself if you want to. But here's the fee, 2.10%. Yeah, the biggest companies, which are very US based. So it's another one, very US focused. And then we have the Nordnet Global Index, also with a 0.20% fee. And it's global, but we know that the US is quite a strong market, so you will always find a lot of US companies in here. But yeah, these are my funds. I have 4 funds in Avanza, 4 funds in Nordnet I'm investing in. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what you thought and if you're investing in Sweden. And you can also share your funds you invest in if you want to. Hej då!